Now, I want to take that theme one stage further, because when Christian invited me over here, my awareness of Estonia was very high level. I knew that you were independent in 1991, and I knew that as a new nation you had grown tremendously quickly. In fact, you'd almost become the exemplar for Europe. But that's honestly all I knew. We'd had a few conversations since we first met 9 years ago. So I was intrigued to find out more. So when I started considering to come here, I did a bit of research, and I looked at what you had achieved in the last 25 years, and it is tremendous. Figures that stick out, like 15% of the GDP is focused on new high-tech businesses. The fact that you have the fastest growing startups of any country in the world, more per head startups than any other country in the world. And that now your internet speeds outstrip everywhere. My God, I'm jealous. In the UK, we are so slow compared to you guys. And in terms of commerce, that is an enabler that really many larger companies are going to struggle to catch up with. So you've really leapfrogged a lot of, not just Europe, but the rest of the world. So that is tremendous. But I also found out when I was looking at this that whilst in the areas of high-tech and startups, you've clearly, exceeded expectations, probably your own, but more importantly, you've exceeded the expectations of everybody around you. In the world of digital marketing, you've been a little bit slower in the uptake. Now, some might see that as a disadvantage. I see that right now as a fantastic opportunity. Why? Well, because there's been a lot of mistakes made in the last 5 or 10 years in the world of digital marketing by a lot of countries. They have thrown a lot of money at it without actually measuring specifically what the end result is. And there's an expression from 100 years ago now, and I'm not even sure who coined it, because I've heard lots of people attribute it to it. And it's 50% of my marketing is working, I just don't know which. Has everybody heard that? Yeah? It's probably one of those apocryphal things. I don't know if anybody ever said it, but actually it is true. And the trouble is, 10, 15 years ago, that was definitely true. You were spending money on TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, all of these places, and you never really knew whether you were getting the return on investment, because it was very, very difficult to measure. But in 2016 and beyond, through digital marketing, there's really no excuse. We could and should be able to measure just about everything. Not 100%, but pretty close to it. So we should know what the return on investment is. So we shouldn't be wasting 50% of our budget. We should be absolutely maximising it. So to me, that's a great opportunity, because a lot of people have made mistakes over the last 5 or 10 years. And one of the subject matters that Christian mentioned was marketing automation. Who's heard of marketing automation? Hands up? At least a third of the room. Okay. Now, I absolutely hate that term, because the word automation, to a lot of people who haven't actually got in and worked out exactly what it means, you hear the word automation and you think everything's going to happen without any human beings involved. In other words, if I'm the recipient of some marketing automation, I'm just going to get lots and lots of emails. In fact, they're going to spam the arse off me. I'm not sure if that translates, but they're going to really make my life bad. Now, that can be achieved through bad marketing automation, but good marketing automation is almost the paradigm of marketing that was delivering the right message at the right time to the right person so that they can really make the right decision. So, in the world of social selling or social marketing, whatever you want to call it, the messages you deliver when you're over here in the awareness stage will be completely different to the messages you deliver when your potential customer is in the consideration stage. And the types of things you're going to share with them when they're in the decision stage, again, are going to be different. Now, the effectiveness of the measures and the messages you send will only be effective, one, if you have the tool to deliver them at the right time, but also if you have closed the loop by being able to measure success and work out which things work and which things don't. And that's how you maximize your budget. So, coming back to the analogy with Estonia, I think right here you're in the consideration stage, but I think at the end of today, or at the end of when you've thought this through, the decision is, do we do something that allows us to leap forward in the same way as we have done with the high-tech and the startups, or do we allow that head start to ebb away as the laggards like the UK and North America try and catch up with Estonia? One other question that the journalist asked us yesterday was, how much should you spend on your marketing? I thought that was very insightful and a very difficult question to answer. And of course the answer is it depends. But realistically, is anybody in the room in a startup mode? Is anybody right, okay. That's a very interesting, exciting, difficult seat of the pants place to be. And typically a startup will be spending 60, 70, 80, maybe 90% of their first year's intended revenue, potentially, on marketing or sales or lead generation. Why? Well, it's pretty obvious, because on day one you have 0 customers, and therefore if you're going to survive the end of the first year, you've got to get some customers and paying customers pretty damn quick. Conversely, if you've been in business 25, 30 years, and maybe you're looking to retire or wind up your business, sometimes that's called, in the mode of becoming a cash cow, then you're probably taking out more money than you're putting into the business, so you're probably only spending 1 or 2% of your expected turnover on marketing. So those are the extremes: a startup where you've got to be really aggressive, a cash cow where you're probably hardly spending anything. But the reality, the average where most businesses are, which is 5, 10, 15 years, on average, if you don't know how to spend or how much to spend on marketing, a good benchmark might be 10%. Now last year, there was a survey conducted across the world of larger companies to say, next year, how much do you intend to budget for marketing as a percentage of your turnover? And there was actually, I don't know whether it's everybody feeling positive about coming out of the recession, but they increased that by 10%. So that's from 10% to 11%. So the marginal increase was 10%. So as a benchmark, if you haven't got a clue, 11% per annum, if you're an existing business, is a good benchmark simply to ask yourself the question, if we're not spending that much, why not? And if we're spending twice as much, for what reason? Because if you're looking to move into a new market or you're trying to grow your business substantially, then you're almost back in another startup phase. And one of the things we talked about in terms of the opportunity for Estonia is, I think the population of Estonia is 1.3 million, and the population of the world is several billion. So you've done tremendously well inside Estonia, obviously, and a lot of businesses are starting to export, and just about 90% of the services and products that you produce and support are exportable. So there is a tremendous opportunity to grow beyond the boundaries of Estonia, and actually, because you've got such a head start over the rest of the world and the rest of Europe and Scandinavia, then this is a tremendous opportunity for you. That's my short analysis of where I think marketing and digital marketing could take you. Now this little book here, have you heard of crowdsourcing? Who's heard of crowdsourcing? Yeah, I guess it's one of those digital trends. Now a lot of that is thought about offshoring or all of this sort of stuff. We crowdsourced this book in that, not that we handed it out to a third party to write, we didn't do that, so I'm quite happy to sign it, But there were 12 consultants. I am representing the other 11 who put their minds together, hence the name Digital Minds, to build this book. 12 things every business needs to know about digital marketing. Now, we first wrote it 3 years ago, and then we wrote it again last year, and we'll probably need to write it again in 6 months, and then 3 months, and then perhaps a couple of weeks, because the world changes so fast. The world changes so fast, and that's both an opportunity and a threat. And I think it's a real opportunity to you guys and a threat to the rest of the world, because you have moved forward at a pace that, as I've already mentioned, the rest of the world will struggle to keep up with. So, in summary, I want to say a couple of things to you. Don't think that digital marketing is complicated, because it's not. It is really thinking about how you deliver messages in the awareness phase, in the consideration phase, right through to the decision phase, and perhaps the decision that's left with you today is how do you achieve that. And I would suggest a good place to start is to take the book. If you're the business owner, give it to the marketing manager. If you're the business owner and you don't have a marketing manager, read it yourself. And if you are a business that actually work with a digital agency, give them a copy and have a good conversation together to say, looking at these as just the agenda, the starting of the conversation, because it starts off, chapter 1, chapter 2 is all about building a plan, getting an implementation plan behind that strategy, and then measuring the success and continuously improving. Now, that might sound blindingly obvious, but the place to start is with a plan, and then to implement it, because I find that actually companies that have a strategy, they very rarely write a bad strategy, because if they've done their competitor analysis and their market analysis, they will come up with a good strategy. So why do a lot of businesses fail? Because actually they never implement the damn thing. And probably they don't implement it because they don't have the internal skills to do it, and sometimes they're afraid to go externally to get those. So my closing advice would be, take the book, read it, or give it to somebody who is going to read it and then communicate with you, and then formulate a plan based on your decisions. Thank you very much. That's as long as I wanted to talk about this morning, but we have got time for some Q&A, yeah? So how do you want to handle that, Kristjan?
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Pleasure.
I think I will ask the first question. If you read through this book, I think you get some couple of hundred ideas, what to do, and etc.
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit overwhelming if the person has not connected with digital marketing before. What's your suggestions? What's the prioritizing stuff?
Well, I think it always makes sense to start small, in the sense that even if you've considered everything and written a plan based on that. We talked about wasting 50% of your marketing budget. In the old days, they just used to throw stuff at the wall and look what stuck and try to go from there. So my advice would be, always test, always measure. So when you're talking about marketing automation, the critical thing around that is being able to measure response rates to everything, whether it's your social media campaign, whether it's your paid search campaign, whether it's your email marketing campaign. You should be able to measure everything, and A/B testing is the way to do that. So test one landing page against another, see what results you get. If you're getting better results, well, it's pretty obvious that landing page A is the one that you need to repeat. Then move on to the email marketing campaign that supports it. So start small, don't risk too much capital or too much revenue to each individual campaign, but make sure that you have a strategy that you continually refresh.
Okay, thanks. You talk a lot about marketing automation. What's actually it's growing out from email marketing? What's the biggest difference in your opinion comparing email marketing to marketing automation?
Yeah, it definitely started off in some respect as an extension to email marketing. I started in marketing automation probably 20-25 years ago when I was working for a big bank in the UK called Lloyds, and they were spending millions of pounds trying to just get one view of their customer across multiple touch points and multiple channels. And it was hard work, and it was very costly, and it was cutting code from scratch. But here we are now in 2016, and small, medium-sized businesses can have access to software as a service support to join together, not just their email marketing, which you quite rightly said is where it starts, but to join together their paid search marketing, to join together their social media marketing, so that when the customer or the prospect, 9 times out of 10, when the potential customer is interacting with your organization, you can see exactly how, when, how much, and how engaged they are. And the little magic bit, the bit that, to be honest, marketing automation, I wasn't sure whether, when the phrase came along, whether it was going to be another flash in the pan or whether it was something that had some real meat to it. And for me, the light bulb moment was when I could see that within the software, whatever software you use, because there's many out there, there's Marketo, there's Infusionsoft, there's Dynamics, there's, what are the other ones? HubSpot, there's a whole bunch of them out there. And they all do roughly the same thing. The price variance can be tremendous, but they all do roughly the same thing. Is where you can actually allocate a point score to every interaction. Now you can imagine if you were a large organization with a couple of thousand potential customers, you would need a marketing team of 100 to be able to work out which one of these people retweeted something, which one of these people opened an email and as a result downloaded an ebook, or which one of these prospects is most likely to become a customer. And this is really bringing the sales and the marketing function together in a tremendous way. So the difference between just pure email marketing, which is very much about just managing a specific campaign and having a look at how it has resulted in a return on investment, you're actually managing and measuring all your prospects and being able to allocate a score automatically to each of them. So the light bulb moment was if I was employing a new salesperson tomorrow, I would be able to download a list and say, okay, if I want you to speak to the top 100 prospects today and give me a return on the investment of your salary tomorrow, these are the 100 you should talk to. Not based on gut feel, not based on accident, but based on the level of interaction that they've had with my organisation over the last 3, 6, 9 months. Does that answer your question?
Good. In digital marketing, there is also a player called Google, and there is also analytics, which is called Google Analytics. You can be lost in data very easily, because there is hundreds and thousands of numbers, what you can analyze, what you can measure. What's, in your opinion, the most top 3 KPIs, what you need to measure?
Wow, I didn't know you were going to ask me that one. Top 3 KPIs. All I can tell you is that when I sit down with my staff and with my clients, the thing that 9 times out of 10, the business owner, the investor, the person whose money is actually dependent on the result is how many customers have we acquired, at what value, and how much did it cost me? Okay, does that make sense? How many customers have I got, at what value, and how much did it cost me? And value itself is a multiple measure. Is it initial purchase, lifetime value? Probably, depending on your business, it will vary. But there's no reason on earth why you can't use Google Analytics to hone in on those top 3 things.